What is happening with the real estate price in Georgia?
So we're going to be discussing that. My name is Alan Rich. I'm the managing broker here at Max One Realtor and Realtor Partners.
My name is Bing Richardson. I'm the compliance broker for Maximum One Realty and Realtor Partners.
And so one of the big questions at any time that you're in a shifting market, we are a market that is kind of moving into balance, I would say, much more so than anything. And so we're just going to kind of go through what we're actually seeing in the market as it's playing out right now, real-time data. We want to make sure that we are talking about what the numbers that we're really seeing, the true data, and not just how we may be feeling. Because we see that a lot of times people like they feel bad or they feel this way or another, and that really impacts what they feel about the market as opposed to what's actually going on.
And sometimes the media will hype a certain topic because it's about sensationalizing the market. So we're here to kind of basically tell you what's going on.
Yeah. So the first thing is that we do have a lot more price reductions on hand. Overall, here in Georgia, roughly 20%, 21% of our listings have a price reduction on them. We're seeing where inventory that is sitting for a while, we are seeing much more price reductions probably now since, 2007, 2008, probably. Yeah. And so overall, we're seeing where the home values are really kind of flattening out, right? Now, there is a difference in inside the perimeter versus outside the perimeter right now. If you look at overall county level pricing, if you compared just like in
ITP versus OTP.
Right, exactly.
For Atlantans.
What we're seeing is that outside the perimeter, right outside of Atlanta, those prices are actually holding very, very steady, even a slight increase. Inside the perimeter, those counties are seeing a 1 to 2% drop. So overall, it's where we're seeing it overall very, very flat here in the state of Georgia and especially in the Atlanta MSA. But that doesn't necessarily equate to like what area. What we're seeing is homes inside the perimeter. Those are seeing 1 to 2% drops, and the homes on the outside of the perimeter are seeing 1 to 2% gains. Overall, it's pretty flat. What we're kind of seeing there.
And real estate is always local. Just remember that. And also, it depends on school district and the area that you're wanting to choose to live.
Yeah. So, in addition to that, we are having right now more contracts falling through.
It's probably one of record high where buyer has changed their mind, or buyer, when they see the number for monthly mortgage costs, they tend to shy away or decide that, you know what, I'm not ready for a homeowner yet. So therefore they can terminate a contract. And sometimes it's during inspection too. So sellers, please take a note. No longer can you sell homes with major deferred maintenances and the buyer just take it as is.
Right. I mean, right now in the U.S., roughly 1 in 7 home purchases are falling through, right? So right at about 15%. Now here in the Atlanta area, that number is different, right? Here it's almost 20%.
20%. That's
right.
Huge.
So nationally, it's 1 out of 5 is falling through. For us here locally, it's one. I mean, it's
1 out of 7 and nationally, and 1 out of 5 here in Georgia.
Thank you for fixing me up there.
It's okay.
So that is a pretty significant jump for us. And so, like Ming was saying, we got to make sure that we are like getting past, oh, here's the offer, all the way to actually closing the deal. So the idea of, I don't want to negotiate, I'm not going to work with you. The buyers are just saying, okay, see ya.
We do have a couple of appraisal issues lately, so just that's part of the reason why it's falling through. And a seller refused to reduce the price because they got them a number set in their mind, and therefore they're not wanting to reduce.
Well, but let's talk about what are the top reasons why contracts are falling through. And so we just got this report in. It's like the number one issue, almost 30%. Is inspection. Yeah, the inspection is the top issue. So how do you fix that? Go to the inspections, like especially as buyer's agent, go with your buyer and with the inspector to make sure that's being done. As a listing agent, understand that home inspection, like those are negotiated points that we've got to be able to get past. The second most common reason why a contract falls through.
Buyer and seller have cold feet. So seller has incredible interest rate, and so they're looking at selling this one, buying the next one, and they look at the interest rate like, well, geez, I'm basically trading my home for the same monthly mortgage. But at the end of the day, why people move is because they want to be closer to family. So you got to put a value on what that means to you. And also, buyers getting cold feet because they don't really think they want to be strapped down with that monthly
Yep.
mortgage. And what they don't realize is that as the year progresses, that mortgage is going to be higher and higher and higher because the value of home will eventually increase and the interest rate fluctuates.
After, our third most common reason is financing, either whether it's because of mortgage rates or not because of mortgage rates. Financing is the third most common reason why we're seeing contracts fall out. So, as a buyer's agent or as a listing agent, understanding these issues can help you realize that it has to go past the initial offer, right? Because right now, our buyers are just plain more cautious, I would say, right?
And about 42% of buyer are backing out because the inspection revealed too many issues. And sometimes those are, so the inspector has to cover their asset as well, just like everybody else.
CYA.
So what they do is that they'll have a bullet point of things that are required. Just FYI, this is what you need to know for maintenance down the road. So when a buyer is not used to having to deal with these things, when you look at the report as a whole, it can be very daunting. And it's about a little education from the agent and also the inspector. They're there to answer your call if you have any questions.
Now, one interesting thing that we see in the data right now is that what percentages of properties fall through based on their price point. And what's really interesting is the highest fall through rates is on homes under 300,000, right? Because it's almost 20% of those, they have the highest fall through rate. All the others, as the price goes up, the percentage of homes that fall through is less and less and less. I know a lot of times there's a general feeling that the more expensive the home, the higher maintenance that the the buyer seller may be, but that's not really what we see in the data.
Right, the better maintained home because people buy a high end property is not going to destroy it.
Yeah. Well, the other thing that we see is when we first started talking about this, right? We are seeing more properties be reduced, and the reason that we're seeing so many properties reduced is because the longer that a property sits on the market, the more price reductions has to happen, right? And so, in a cooling market like we're having right now, or a flat market, right? The or for our optimistic sellers that throw this price out there, I'd like to see this price. Let's try this kind of thing. Those that optimistic pricing is not working right now. It's not a really solid strategy to get your home sold. As a matter of fact, it costs our sellers a lot of money doing it that way. So the longer a property sits on the market, the more price reductions it has to have. And where our inventory is, we're seeing where that's a real issue. Now, the real question here is, what does that equate to in dollars and cents? And I hope that, take your pens out, write this down. This is really important data for you to have. Okay, the average price cut for homes that sit on the market between 60 and 90 days is 5%. So for homes that have been on the market over 120 days,
it's about 8.5%.
8.5%.
So not only are you making more monthly mortgage sellers, but you're also reducing your price significantly.
Well, but I want you to also think about what is, for a home that's been on the market 120 days, has an 8% price reduction. On a $300,000 house, that's $24,000. No. Yes. Yeah, 24,000. Sorry. Got to check my math, right? So on a $400,000 house, that's 320. I mean, it's $32,000. We're talking about a pretty significant drop in value. Now, if you look at that value or that big of a drop, $30,000, $25,000, versus starting off and pricing the property correctly, we're seeing a big difference in that. Homes that are in the right area, price right when they first go on that market, the new
Well,
listings get a lot of activity. And so when they sit there and they get stagnant, it ends up costing the sellers a lot of money. And we're seeing this play out real time right now in our market.
and if you price it just slightly below market, I can almost tell you that with a home that's move-in ready, you're gonna have multiple offers, and so sometimes it's easier to bid up than it is trying to go back, waiting 120 days, and then lower the price to where the fair market value should have been.
Yeah. So right now, if you look at the overall shift in home prices, right here in the Atlanta area, since we have over a 55% increase in values over the past 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
However, right now we're actually seeing where we're sitting very, very flat, right? And so if you look at where we were just a year ago, right? Versus a year ago, we are sitting at, depending on which system that you used at Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, the financing people, FHA, all that kind of stuff. But overall, we're looking at basically a really flat market. I mean, flat values over there. And matter of fact, even Zillow's forecast right now, like if you look at Zillow's forecast for the Atlanta MSA, it is for 0.3. So less than 1% appreciation. But again, we see that highly broken up between OTP and ITP. That's definitely a big deal. So like the real challenge is that we are kind of moving into a buyer's market. However,
there's not a whole lot of buyer out there purchasing.
Right. See, we're a buyer's market without a lot of buyers, right? And that just doesn't make a lot of sense, right? Like most of the time.
It's not that we don't have buyer; it's about affordability.
Right. So right now in the Atlanta area, we have 63% more sellers than buyers, but that is something that is right now shifting. Like it is interesting that what's really going on. There was a recent study for real estate agents said like what percentage of your market, I mean, of you think that it is a buyer's market?
And this is, MBS Highway House Index.
Yeah.
So just in March, we were at 35%, and now in August, we're at 55%.
Over half the markets in the U.S. are now a buyer's market, as opposed to only 30% in March. So this is a shift that we've kind of seen going on. One other thing that really kind of drives our market, and so there's a lot of data about what's going on as far as listings sitting, but what really moves a real estate market is new listings. And see, that's the big challenge for us, right? The pace of existing home sales really is dependent on new listings coming into market. But with all the talk about property values, those kind of things, we're seeing a lot less new listings come on the market. See, we have to start off and look at pricing. Pricing is like the big deal here, and it's not like we don't ever want to get our sellers less money than they could get for their home. We want to help our sellers to maximize the value they're getting for their property. However, if the home isn't selling,
guess what?
The price isn't compelling, right? That's and like that's really the bottom line is. It's coming down to value. It's coming down to price.
And just remember, home's only worth what someone is willing to pay for, even though you may have put a lot of upgrades, a lot of personal touch, a lot of things that did cost you money. But, it's only worth what a client and a buyer is going to pay for it.
Yep. So where are we now? So if you just looked at the median sale price right now, and so we pulled up the data for both Georgia MLS and FMLS. So in Georgia MLS, right now, we are up 2.3%. So we are up that 1 to 2% that we've kind of seen. Now, I'm sorry, that's in FMLS. In FMLS, we are up 2.3%. If you go and you look inside Georgia MLS, we are up, drum roll please,
1.7%.
1.7%. Now, last month, FMLS was down like 0.5%. So we are seeing where it is that 1 to 2% range overall on what we're seeing happen with prices. Now these are These are real data, real numbers that we're talking about, and we just pulled this prior to showing this.
And just so you know, FMLS predominantly runs on the northern or inside the perimeter, where Georgia MLS is
Yep.
some middle and a lot exterior of the MSA.
But let's talk about what we're seeing overall with inventory right now, because inventory is driving affordability, it's driving home values, a lot of different things like that. And so overall, we have a lot more listings than we had this time last year. In FMLS, we currently have 25% more listings this year than last year. In Georgia MLS, we have right at 20% more listings this year than last year. Now, that is actually it is up pretty substantially from where it was last year. However, it is way down from where it was just a couple of months ago. We were 33, 35, almost 40% more listings this year than last year. So really what's happening is we're seeing where these new listings coming on the market are down. Right now, if you look at new listings coming in into FMLS, new listings in FMLS are actually down 2.5%.
Yeah.
In Georgia MLS, new listings are down almost 1%. So we're seeing where sellers are reacting to what's going on with with values by holding off on listing their homes right now. But as we said before, it's those new listings that really drive the market. We need more listings to get more sales, right? Because new listings equate to more transactions. It really, really does. It's not about the stagnant old inventory. Those are going to have to sit there for a while, and they're going to have to realize that they get the price wrong.
Right? Well, they need some price adjustments.
Yep. So overall, we see where we are in a very balanced market. We see where the number of buyers and sellers are starting to match up now. Yes, we have a lot more inventory than we had, last year.
Yes.
But we still have less inventory than we had pre-COVID, right? So we are seeing where inventory is increasing. Because of that inventory, it's leading to a much more balanced market right now. You have all sorts of people out there talking about, oh, the market's going to crash. We're waiting for big property values. We don't see that data happening anywhere.
There may be a unicorn here and there because the seller either were not educated in about the value and what strategy they can use, or it's a inheritance estate. Those are rare and few still, because most of the seller have plans.
Yeah, but these are the real data about the real numbers that we're seeing right now in our marketplace for us and in the real estate community, right? We just have to be aware of what's happening in our marketplace and understand that, we can't necessarily take business as it was and expect that that's how it's going to be moving forward. In the past for listing agents had a pretty easy job when we had 10 buyers for every listing, fighting over that listing. And now we have suddenly more sellers. And so really what we're seeing is that really good markets make really crappy agents.
Well, bad habits.
Okay. But tougher markets, those make great agents right now.
Now we have to think on our feet and be quick and understand your market value in the area that you're searching for, and also negotiate.
Yeah. So overall, understand that our volume may not be where it was a couple of years ago, but our volume is still really, really good. There's still 11,000 homes sold every single day of the year in the United States right now. So please don't think that we don't have decent sales and those kind of things going on. We are seeing where there's a lot of activity still in our market. The other thing happening right now is there is a ton, and I mean an absolute ton, of pent-up demand. We are seeing where interest rates are softening right now. There's more news coming out that we're going to be seeing.
We are.
And so we could suddenly be in a very different situation. We see interest rates keep dropping, and we see inventory tightening up the way that we're seeing right now. We may actually see it may change this whole price paradigm all over again, right? Because if suddenly we don't have enough listings on the market again and interest rates drop,
and it's where it's affordable. That's the key.
Yeah, that's really what it's coming down to.
But at the same time, seller, just remember, don't put products out there that is not move-in ready, because the buyer's still backing out during inspection when they feel like there's too much deferred maintenance.
So good luck. Hope you guys have a great week. Let us know if we can help in any way.
Thank you for watching us and have a great day.
Bye now.